This is A Secret Revealed, a short story written by myself. The idea for this comes from the Weekend Prompts Challenge, in which you are given a prompt and write 15 minutes based on said prompt. I will leave a link in the description for those interested in trying it out as well. And today's story comes from prompt 471. Their life was a lie, and now everyone knew it. And now to begin. All it had taken was the rain, cascading from the sky in delicate droplets, yet damaging the facade Janice had been able to so easily portray. Lines of foundation trailed down his skin, and beneath lay the horrors no one of this world should have seen. His life was a lie, and now everyone knew it. It had taken a moment to realize the true effects of the rainstorm, not passing Janice's mind until he had seen the look in Patton's face. Eyes wide, the groceries he had been carrying slipped from his fingers and spilled over the pavement. He looked terrified. It was only then that Janice's hand had shot up to his face, his fingers coming away pale as he felt the smooth texture of scales underneath. There was a part of him that wasn't entirely human, fabricated by the experiments he had tried to forget over time. The lab was a distant fantasy, memories of the concrete walls separated from now by years, though that didn't stop the way Patton trembled before him, the way Janice felt stick to his stomach at the sight of such dread. His words caught in his throat, excuses he had been able to make so easily before vanishing like water in a drought. Patton gaped, opening and closing his mouth in search of the right words, before settling on a single one. How? I'm sorry, Janice stammered, backing up a step. Don't look at them. Flecked across his face in no shape or pattern, the scales trailed from his temple down his neck, all of them shone a yellow-green, reflecting the serpentine eye he possessed on his left side. Janice hated the painful memories that followed such traits, and the way it left Patton staring. Janice, Patton whispered, reaching out his hand. Janice flinched away from the contact, shivering beneath his soaked clothes. You hate them, don't you? He muttered, wrapping his arms tight around himself. Of course not. I can see you shaking. You're afraid of me. It's not that. Patton stepped closer and placed a hand on Janice's cheek. His thumb brushed over the scales. I just wondered why you've never told me before. Tears pricked Janice's eyes, smudging the foundation that had already become a lost cause. Because I'm a monster. You're no monster. Patton wiped away his tears with a gentle smile. You're absolutely stunning. He pulled away from Patton's touch and looked to the ground. Please don't lie. Why would I, honey? Has no one told you how beautiful they look when they sparkle in the light? No one was supposed to see them. You weren't supposed to know. Well, Patton strolled forward and again reached out, slow enough that Janice could move away if he didn't want the contact. He did not flinch away this time, his breath hitching as Patton cupped his face in his hands. I love them just as much as I love you. Warmth bloomed in Janice's chest, the words an everlasting echo in his mind. Again and again they sang, until Janice found himself rushing forward, capturing Patton in a tight embrace. He buried his face in Patton's shoulder, embarrassed that he had likely covered the latter's t-shirt and foundation, but relieved as Patton returned the embrace. He placed a hand in Janice's hair, lightly combing through the strands as the rain continued to fall. Thank you, he whispered, while Patton whispered quiet reassurances in return. Thank you for everything. My dear, you don't have to thank me. But I will anyway, Janice muttered. You're the only one who's ever cared. With this, Patton raised his head and Janice followed. They locked eyes, Patton's glasses now speckled with hundreds of rain droplets, though somehow managing to sparkle just as bright as his smile. Inches apart, their breaths mingled until Patton leaned forward and whispered softly, May I? Janice nodded, and Patton closed the gap, placing his lips on Janice's forehead and trailing kisses from his temple down to his jaw. He attempted to kiss every scale, moving gently across each mark of yellow-green until he had reached Janice's lips. Beautiful, he muttered as they finally broke away. You're absolutely beautiful. Janice was unable to stop the smile that crept onto his face. And you are dazzling as well, darling. Together under the light of street lamps they stood, the rain becoming just as marvelous as the scales upon Janice's face. Sure, his life had been a lie, but never before had Janice been happier to tell the truth. This has been A Secret Revealed. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time for another story.